Good morning, good afternoon, or perhaps good evening, and welcome to IndustryBroadcast.com's audio article number 62. Today's audio article is written by Jake Birkett, who is the lead designer and programmer at Big Fish Games' new Vancouver studio. In 2005, after nearly a decade of developing stock control and accounting systems for bookshops in the United Kingdom, Jake formed his own company in a bid to realize a lifelong dream to make games. 3 years later, he has 6 casual games under his belt, including the popular Fairway Solitaire download version for Big Fish Games. Like many 30-somethings, Jake has been playing games all of his life, and puts to use this experience by making great, fun, casual games. He also believes that positive thinking and self-improvement have been critical to his success. For more information on Jake, as well as a recent update for his blog entries, we recommend that you head over to www.grayaliengames.com. Audio article number 62. Written by Jake Birkett and read aloud by Ryan Wienko on the 19th of January 2009. Titled, Tips for Finishing a Game. Someone at Blitz Basic recently asked me what tips people could offer for how to finish a game. I compiled a list of relevant articles from my blog, some of which proved fairly popular when I wrote them, and I hope you will find these useful. Tip number 1. Where do you learn patience? Here are some of the simple techniques that I use. I like reminding myself of the end goal, and then I know that, even if it's far off, every step I take is important. Then I can focus on each step properly. I break stuff into small steps, and then I get each step done, and I feel great about it. I take up a sport or a martial art that teaches mental and physical endurance. I give up caffeine and any other substances, plus I eat healthy. I don't fart around getting ready to do some work. I just do it. After a short while, you probably just get into it. Sometimes I have a boring task like filing paperwork to do, but once I start, I get into it. I focus only on that and not on what else I should be doing. So basically, take action. Switch off email, internet messaging, mobile phones, and resist going on the internet when you have something more important to do. Make to-do lists and do some planning. Enjoy crossing stuff off, but don't spend all of your time planning and no time working. If you have been working for a while and you start going nowhere fast, take a break, do something else, and then come back to it later. You can even do another task on your to-do list, but getting up from the PC is best. Listen to motivational music, probably without lyrics, so like trance or classical or SID chip music, whatever floats your boat. Don't worry about it too much. You've got plenty of time to get better at focusing, and at least you are aware that you have a problem, so that you can now fix it. The single best skill you have, in my opinion, is awareness, because then you can spot the flaws in you and fix them. Tip number 2. Screens, and, well, you guessed it, more screens. My current game is coming along nicely. It should be ready for feature complete alpha release following next week, by some polishing and beta testing, and then post-beta polishing and fixes for a gold master at the end of the month. Fingers crossed. The actual game engine was written fairly quickly. Then we spent a couple of months polishing with extra features and visual effects. However, one thing you should never underestimate is the time taken to make extra non-game screens in your game. I've spent the past 2 months working intensely with the artist, making extra screens and writing all of the supporting code. The game has the following screens. The game screen, obviously, loading screens, title screens, option screens, credit screens, player manager screens, incorporating entering name into dialogues and error confirmation dialogues, trophy screens, career statistics screens, shopping screens, yes, it's got a shop, level selection screens, story screens, in-game menus, hit dialogues, special dialogues, various award dialogues, and level screen complete with whole raft statistics, intro animation, and game finished animation. Whew. You can see that I mean a lot of screens, and some of them need a ton of code. However, I'm pretty sure that I can reuse a lot of this code, or at least in principle, in future games, which will speed things up. But plugging in and aligning all of the graphics takes ages. Normally there are some errors with them too that need to be fixed, and then someone at the top says that they want to change them anyways. Sometimes when people say they're going to make a game, they're only thinking about the actual game engine, not all of the other stuff that you need for a modern game to cut the mustard. Tip number 3. How do you know when something is finished? Someone asked the above question on the Blitz forums recently, and I also said, deep down you're thinking, but I could just do X, Y, and Z, and then it'll be even better. Well, this is a topic that I'm sure I could talk about for a while, and probably many people would have different opinions. I think a lot depends on what the thing is that you are finishing, of course, and who you are finishing it for. For example, if it's for somebody else, it's finished when they say it is. But let's assume that you're making a game for or by yourself for now. Basically, it's a viable option to sell it now. Or are X, Y, and Z required to make it sell, or to make it sell much more? Your testers should have indicated whether the features were must-haves, or maybe but not really to be bothered with. If it's ready to sell, then sell it, and put your time into a new project with all of that you've learned. Or even possibly a sequel, or a reskin if applicable. If it's not a retail product, example it's free, the same logic applies in terms of asking your testers, is it good enough for release? Also, your reputation may be affected positively or negatively by the release, so anything you can do to make it more positive in order to secure future deals is a good thing. This has totally worked for me. Mind you, having anything finished is really positive. It's just the quality affects the order of magnitude of the positivity. Do you set milestones? Tip number 4. Now, I am contractually obligated to complete my current project by June the 1st, so how can I make sure that I do that? Well, by setting milestones, of course. Now, if I was just to work on my project and hope that it would be ready in time, one of 3 things could happen. The first being I actually finished the game early because I am an incredibly hard worker and or the deadlines were easy. Number 2, miraculously I finished bang on time with no loose ends. And number 3, I overrun from anywhere from a small to a very large amount. I have found option 3 to be the most common in development with myself in the past and with other developers that I've hired or have been in contact with. So who set the deadline? One important thing to realize with deadlines is who set it. If it's some date that a manager pulled out of a hat for you, you could be in trouble. If it's a date that you set yourself, then how did you arrive at that date? Did you say, yeah, June sounds good, I'll do it by then? Or did you make a comprehensive plan overviewing all the areas of the project and then assigning time estimates, this takes experience by the way, to each part, and then add some contingency time before arriving on a viable date? Hopefully it was the second one. If you have been handed a date on plate by a third party, could even be a client, then make a plan, assign estimates, and work out if you can complete the project on time. If not, then speak to them and ask what they want to remove from the project, or if they want to change the date. It's no use asking for an extension, school project style, the day before the project is due to be delivered, or worse still, not even contacting them and just being late. Milestones. Okay, so you've set a plan and a viable date. Now how do you make sure that you finish on time? Sure, you could just work on the project a set amount of hours each day, dealing with problems as they arise and adding a little extra here and there. But then, oops, you've missed a deadline. Why? Because all of the unforeseen problems and additional extras gradually padded the project out by a few weeks until you missed the deadline by a mile. This is where milestones come in. You look at your plan and you use your time estimates to work out what you should have completed by Friday at the end of the first week. Then you repeat for all the other weeks in the project timescale. Then you start programming, and if you haven't hit your milestones by the Friday, then you work all weekend until you hit your milestone. It's no use thinking that you'll catch up later when some of the pieces of work take less time than you thought, because it never happens. Well, okay, I'll concede that if you're lucky, it sometimes happens. Avoid padding. So, okay, how can you avoid working at the weekend every week, as that's not particularly desirable? Well, you need to put the most effort in at the start of the week so that you finish on time or even early. If you finish early, then what? Well, you get a head start on the next week, or you could go back over last week's work and add some more polish. After all, if you are making a game, polish sells. Here's a key point. If you get a bright idea halfway through the week, don't start to implement it immediately, or you'll fall behind. Make a note of all such polish ideas and see if there is time to put them in at the end of the week, or at the end of the project if you have any time left. Although I have to laugh at this. You may be able to put some more polished items in then, or you may be able to talk to the manager or customer and see if they want the polished items, because sometimes they don't, as they just want the project delivered on time. Summary. So, to summarize, Before making a commitment to a date, make an overview plan delivering each section of the project and attach time estimates to it. Then you know if the time is viable. 2. Set milestones based on your plan and time estimates. 3. Work hard at the start of the week, or better still, all week long, and make sure that you meet your milestone. 4. If you finish early, add some extra polish, or get a head start on next week's work. 5. If you miss the milestone, catch up right now. You can't afford to let lateness compound. 6. Note down polished items, ideas, etc. throughout the project and see if there's time to do them at the end, or talk to the manager/customer and see if they even want them. Tip number 5. I've finished my game, but now what? Someone just emailed me and asked, "You might be aware that I finally got my game finished. I'm a bit curious as to who you would generally approach, apropos getting it on sale via portals and such." My reply: firstly, well done. It's not easy finishing a game, as you know. Also, you'll be watching the sales income like a hawk waiting for the break-even point with regards to your costs. I bet you had butterflies feeling when you sent it off to the portals, right? I'm also getting the feeling that when posting a demo on forums, what will they say, good or bad? Okay, then you have two choices here. Find a publisher. A. Find a publisher who will do the whole thing for you. You could find a small publisher who will take a cut and market it to the portals for you. Or you could find a more mainstream publisher. Normally most portals will publish your game for you if it's good enough. They may well make small changes, not necessarily a bad thing, and will take a big cut, of course, and will market the hell out of it. Most likely they'll take it exclusively, which means that you can't sell it on your own site. But I'll be brutally honest with you here, unless you are some total marketing whiz-kid with an amazing viral marketing campaign up your sleeve, direct sales on your site will mean peanuts, and the portals will sell hundreds if not thousands of more copies than you ever will. Self-publish. I did this for my last game after learning the ropes with some of the other 3 games and reading forums, talking to people, etc. This means that I can put it on my own site, which meant security, wrapping the game and making an installer, etc. A bit time-consuming, but once you know it, you can repeat it for more games, of course. Then I did some shareware submissions and PR. Sending your game to portals. Anyway, way before I did that, as in months ago, I made contact with tons of portals to see if they'd be interested in taking the game. Normally I'd say go to them with a finished game, not some alpha or even beta, as they really aren't interested and won't see the potential. Oh, and you must back this up with a proper website, nicely designed with info about the game and your company on it. You don't have to be selling it on the website, though. However, I was trying to get them to take a Christmas game that was not ready. I just had some screenshots. So in the end, I had to really sweet-talk them and also rest on my previous laurels, The Wizard of Oz. Then I sent them a beta later on. Anyways, it sort of worked, and I got some portals on board, although not as many as I would have liked. Contracts. Basically, more portals equals more money. It's that simple. But it also means emailing and more contracts. God, I hate contracts. I had to read and sign so many and fax off huge contracts. One was over 30 pages to the US. Then there's the US tax forms to be filled out. Then they say a page was missing from the contract. Oh, I missed a bit, blah, blah, blah. And then I have to resend it all over again. However, I tried to hold the mindset that every contract I sent meant that I would be making some money on the current game and future games, and it felt okay. I've now got a folder stuffed full of them, and I'm sort of proud of it. Delivering the game. In fact, now that I've got all of these portal contracts, it means that it's fairly easy to get them to ship Easter bonus again this year. Mind you, if you still have to jump through the various hoops to get the files that they need to sell your game, but it's not half as bad as the first time. They are not content with just the game. They need documents for this and that, marketing artwork, screenshots, blah blah blah, and often a splash screen too. You have left a facility to plug in a portal splash screen for your game, right? Hard work. Okay, where was I? Ah, yes. It's basically a lot of work. My logs show that I spent well over 1 man-week, more like 2, doing all of the marketing stuff. And this was even on top of the learning about it all for over a year. So be prepared for some boring slog. But remember, it's to sell your game and maximize your profit. Example, no publisher taking a cut. Don't confuse publisher indirect sales and portals who sell your game directly for a cut. Cracks. Also, don't enter into any exclusive deals with portals. You may want to spread it out as much as possible. Oh, and be prepared for finding it. or having someone tell you that they found it cracked within a couple of days. You can ask the sites to take it down, but it's like trying to build a sandcastle when the tide's coming in. Anyways, I see this as extra marketing. These people would have never bought it anyways, and family, friends, or the pirates might see it and buy it. You can't stop it, so why worry? Get organized. Okay then, so who did I contact? Before I tell you, I'll tell you how I did it. I made a screenshot with as many portals as I could find. Separating portals from affiliate sites is quite hard work. Make sure that you have only real contact portals, otherwise you're wasting your time. Also, some portals are much larger than others. Then I emailed most of them. I never finished the whole list and logged when I sent the email. Sometimes you have to use online forms, but they don't reply. Well, most didn't. Then I chased them down a couple of times. Sometimes you never get replies, and sometimes it takes over a month. So some reply quite quickly in a friendly way, others just literally say thanks, but no thanks. Now for the ones that did reply, I further track the process of contracts and getting them a build on my spreadsheet. The motto here being be organized and be persistent. Portals who said no or nothing. Now on to who I contacted. This isn't an exhaustive list, be aware. Real Arcade, they turned me down, claimed it was too cloney and production values weren't good enough. I'm talking about holiday bonus here. It looked pretty good to me. They also said that they don't take seasonal games. They weren't the only ones. AOL, Real Brief reply, basically said no. Arcade Town, don't want match 3s. Shockwave, Miniclip, iWin, Game Trust, Yahoo, Miniclip, Retro64, etc. said no, or that it wasn't applicable. Many didn't even reply, as I said. There were many, many more of these. Portals who said yes, thank God. The good ones for me, Big Fish Games, really nice people, good rate, but they sell games at a discount. 50% of the sales are discounted versions, so be prepared to lose profit, but the sales numbers make up for it, or at least I suppose they do. Reflexive, again really good, great rate, sell at the full price, so winners all around. Oberon Media, not a portal, they are distributors and the only way to get onto some portals. They give a fairly lousy percent due to the fact that they only receive a percent of the sale themselves as well. However, they are professional and delivered the sales. Tri-Media, professional, not great on sales yet. I'll see how Easter bonus gets on. They have their own specialized wrapper, ActiveMark 2007, which you'll figure out. When I tried to wrap my Blitz Max game, it didn't work, so if you need help, just ask. Play First, nice people, rate was okay, but not the biggest portal. Bounty, said they'll sell my Christmas games, but bombed out on me, i.e. didn't sell them at all, but hopefully they will be selling Easter bonus. Alawar, said that they'll put the games on GameEcstasy.com, not Alawar, but never did. Hopefully they will run the Easter bonus soon. These people had a huge contract. They can offer some exclusive contract for sales in Russia with a good percent if you are prepared to localize your game. Affiliates. Also, I sought affiliates to sell my game. Example, other developers who have websites. This has pretty much been a washout, I'm afraid to say. My site is much more successful. So to summarize, either find a publisher who will do all the hard work for you or prepared for them to take a cut. Could be worth it to save the hassle or do it all yourself. It's a learning experience, but it is hard work. Make a list of portals and contact them in an organized manner and chase them up. Only tell them about complete games, including screenshots and web addresses, that you can send them a full version of. I mean, I'm no expert, these are just my experiences, but I hope that you'll find something useful here, and good luck to you. And hey, I want to see a beta. Tip number 6, an approximate guide to selling indie games. Welcome to my approximate guide to how to sell an indie game that you have made. I'm aiming here at the developer-producer of the game, not at publisher or portals. There seems to be all sorts of detailed information out there on various forums and blogs about the nitty-gritty of how to sell indie games, and a lot of it is very useful, but I haven't really seen an overview guide, and that's what I'm aiming to provide. So without further ado, here it goes. Number 1, finish your game. I mean properly. Make sure that it has a menu system, an option screen including full screen windowed mode, a profile manager, some instructions, proper icons, etc. Check out other mainstream indie games and compare them to your game to make sure that you have all of the normal features in it. This is why I did it in Blitzmax Game Framework. A small point here: if you have done all the graphics, music, sound, and code for the game by yourself, then you are either extremely talented or have spent years on it, or the game really doesn't look and sound very professional. This seems to be more common. To make a professional level game, you need to either A. buy in art, music, and sound from various resources on the web, or B. pay proper artists and musicians, etc., and then offer them royalties. If your game looks and sounds rubbish, it won't sell very many copies, no matter how good the gameplay is. This is a sad but true fact. 2. Alpha testing. Get friends and family, even your mum, to alpha test it. You need a mix of gamers and non-gamers. When they test it, sit there with them and ask them to speak aloud as they play and explore the menus. Ask them to say what is good and bad and confusing. Then watch them play the game carefully. Don't give them any prompts. You will learn a lot from this. If the same issue crops up more than once, you probably should consider changing or improving it. If after alpha testing you don't make any changes to your game, then either A. you are an expert developer hugely aware of how other people think. What are you doing reading or listening to this article in that fact? Or B. you haven't been thorough enough or objective enough about your own game. So do some more tests. Also at this stage or before, you need to test it on a wide range of PCs to check that it actually works and what the minimum specs are. Number 3. Beta testing. Ha! So you thought your game was finished at step 1. You are a member of a programming or gaming forum. Post a beta demo, limited number of levels, or security wrapped, and wait for feedback. You might get some deliberately negative responses from jealous individuals or indie idealists, but hopefully you will gain some useful feedback and you may want to consider tweaking your game again. At this point, you should be fixing minor bugs, if there are any left, and improving the accessibility of the game, clearer menu systems, etc. If you need a major redesign because of some element of the game just doesn't work, then fair enough, go and do it. Don't just try to release the game anyways and hope for the best. Number 4. Self-publishing. You don't have to self-publish. You can go straight to the portals or a publisher if you want to avoid the loads of hassle and focus on your next game. What are the advantages of self-publishing? Well, when you have to sell it on your own website, you'll keep all of the profits after whatever payment service you use has deducted a fee. This sounds great and might be, but only if you can attract a lot of traffic to your website. You'll need to do marketing, press releases, advertising to get the required traffic to generate sales, and this is a big job in itself, and it's also quite boring in my opinion, not for the faint-hearted. What do you need to self-publish? Well, a website for a start and some web programming knowledge, or find someone else who knows how. An installer program. There are plenty of free ones out there, and make sure that your installer is nice and flexible, i.e. it gives the user the option of putting an icon on the desktop or a quick launch bar. Don't force them either way. A license agreement. You need to show this during the installation process. A security wrapper. You'll need to spend money on this. Gasp. Unless you code one yourself, and what a waste of time that would be. This wraps your software so that it becomes a time-limited demo. The player must purchase a key from you to unlock the full version. I'm sure that you are familiar with this concept. Hide the media. Some people are worried that having their game media in a nice visible data folder and prefer to get it built into the exe using something like Molebox. I personally don't care, because if I see my media in another game, unlikely I'll just sue and ask them to desist, or maybe even ask them for some money. Finally, a payment service provider. To make sales, you have to be able to take money in as many ways as possible. You could try and code all this stuff yourself, but it'll probably be horrible, limited, and bugged. You need to choose a payment service provider like BMT, Micro, Plymouth, Shared, etc., and register your game with them, then plug their code into your website, and also make sure that it all works with your security wrapper so that the customer is given a key automatically. Once all of that's done and you're ready to sell the game from your own website, you need to get marketing. Also get on tons of shareware sites and download.com that list your game for free. You can pay a third party to register your game with tons of shareware sites using a pad file, and this service should save you hours and hours. try Glimmer Games. I've probably missed something out from this section, but it's quite a big topic, and that'll just have to do for now. Find a publisher. If you can't be bothered with self-publishing, it might be best to find a publisher who can do all of that for you and get the game on portals as well. They might also make suggestions about how to improve your game to maximize sales, and it's probably a damn good idea to listen to them. What's the catch? Well, money, of course. You won't have to pay a publisher, but they will take a large percentage of every sale. It varies, but 50% or more is the sort of figure I'm talking. However, if they are any good, then you'll make both some money, whereas your own you might fail to even pay for your web space. 6. Put your game on portals. Portals are the site that sell all sorts of indie games, and good portals get tons of traffic, meaning tons of downloads and hopefully quite a few sales for you. Big portals include, but are not limited to, Real Arcade, Big Fish Games, AOL, Yahoo, MSN, iWin, Reflex Arcade, etc. There are tons of small and some large. Some of the larger ones are very fussy about which games they will accept, and they may not accept yours. In fact, they may not even reply. Also, some portals are more geared towards action games than puzzle games, so you have to choose the right ones. Anyway, first you have to make contact with a portal. Check out their website for contact information. Sometimes it's an email address, other times it's a web form to find the right person to talk to. Then send them an unwrapped version of your game. They will wrap it themselves and use their own installer if they accept it. They may just say no, but don't be deterred. Ask them why not so that you can improve on it. They might actually reply. Some nice portals sort of give you a stock answer as to why they won't take your game, and some just say thanks, but no thanks. Also, if the big portals won't take your game, try some smaller ones. However, if the big ones won't take it, you have to ask yourself, how can I make my next game better so that the portals will accept it? Remember, graphics and bling or polish are so important. Don't forget that the portals will take a big cut of your profit, normally 60 to 70%, but they will get sales figures that you can only dream about, so it's kind of worth it in my opinion. Step 7. Improve and refine. Keep on marketing, getting reviews, trying different adverts and techniques, and don't give up. Also, listen to the feedback of the players and make some more improvements to your game. It's quite hard to get a new version on a portal, so save up several subversions and only send them a major release. Some developers have carried on improving their game based on customer feedback and really have improved sales. Consider releasing a level pack. Some types of games are really suited to level packs, and these may not take as long to make at all and can generate a lot of income. Alternatively, you may decide to write your next game. Make sure this one is better than the last in every way. Reinvest your income from the last one in quality graphics and music. Keep checking out other indie games for ideas. Keep abreast of what the current standard is, and see what is selling and what is not. When dealing with the portals again, use your old contacts and improve your communication skills to really sell your game to them. This whole process is a learning experience. Never stop in trying out new things. It could take years to get the formula right, but then you'll have to keep on changing the formula as the market progresses and changes anyways. Conclusion. So, there you have it. Not a definite guide, but hopefully useful to beginners. I haven't really talked about web versions of your game. Well, that's a topic for another day. And I've probably missed out tons of stuff, and I deliberately haven't gone into detail because, well, that would take days. This concludes audio article number 62, once again written by Jake Birkett, whose blog can be found at www.greyaliengames.com. As always, we recommend that you check back with IndustryBroadcast.com on a regular